I have seen the future within my VR goggles. We already are part machine. It's not good.
Not apologetic.
Nonsense.
After spending a decent amount of time within the PSVR 2 goggles, made me wonder what's coming up next. Where's this tech going? So we have Apple's new overpriced glasses, which just make you look retarded. But I do think that's the direction we're heading. So those are AR glasses, so they can have a virtual reality element, but essentially you still see the whole world in front of you, but you might have a YouTube video here, or you might have a text thread here, or if you're working, you might have a spreadsheet, and you see all of these things while at the same time still seeing the real world. It does seem that's where we're going for everything, and it seems like I can picture the direct line we're going down, and boy, is it dark and grim. I see these AR glasses, and at the point we get to it, it may not be goggles, it may be glasses, it may be contacts, it may be some sort of implant. But here's the way I see it. We start having this whole separate world we can live within these glasses, within these goggles, right? So people are going to want to navigate to that world, especially if it's so good it can actually replace your real life. So I picture storage containers, right? Shipping containers, all on top of each other as tall as you can see them, right? I picture people living in those in absolute filth. So we have these glasses that have sort of taken over, and you can live any life you want. You could be a rock star, you could be an actor, you could be a famous ball player, right? So let's say you want to be a rock star. So inside your shipping container, just like you can do now with my VR, I can map out my house. And the game will put in-game obstacles to make sure I don't cross any of those thresholds. So we map out our little storage container houses, right? Our kitchen's here. Pitiful excuse for one anyhow. Our little soiled beds over here. And then when we wake up in the morning with this tech on, we don't see that. We go to get our coffee, which in this instance is probably just some sort of sludge, but we see the greatest beans ever. We see it being perfect, and then it's time to go to rehearsal before we rock an amphitheater tonight. And every detail of that, you never leave that storage container. Inside your mind you do. And I think at first people will do a sort of vacation in these, right? Like go to the place that you never could afford. Then I think some people, just some people at first are going to start living in these things. And once you live in it for a year or two, you forget about your real life. It doesn't exist. All that exists is this fantasy scenario you've created. Or maybe there's a switch or an implant, right? Where you can make that conscious decision. I am going to lose all of my memories and I'm going to live out my days living my dream and thinking that's real, even though I'm living in poverty inside of one of these storage containers. What's the craziest part about it is I think there's going to be that decision made, and once you go inside of those goggles, once you go inside of that world, however that tech presents itself, you never make it out again. So is everyone going to like this? No, I think, like I say, it's going to start with the AR goggles, then they're going to be in glasses, then they're going to replace the phone. Because the thing is, people have been saying for years in sci-fi, we're going to become part cyborg, part machine, but we already are part machine. We all have our cell phones. It can answer any question in the world that we may have. If we need directions, it'll tell us exactly where the restaurant is. If we need to know how to dress today, we can look on that phone and it'll tell us the weather. Even though it's not implanted into us, it has become an extension of us. We have become part tech already, but we see it in these little increments. So maybe we don't notice it as much. But it is coming, and once you go into that world, once we start doing that, accomplishments don't mean anything. Goals don't really exist. But would it be a happier existence? Inside of that world, I'm sure it would be. I look over like there's a co-host, not today. Inside of that world, it would be a better existence. But outside of that world, when you take those goggles off, or if you're able to exit that world, it's full-blown Matrix. You're inside of one of these storage containers, It is gross. It is nasty. Bear in mind, when you go to your gross little bucket in the corner, you're seeing it as being a $10,000 bidet toilet. But that's not what it is. But I do think there will be outliers, right? There will be a rogue people, and at a certain point, the powers that be are going to try to exterminate those people because for whatever reason, they need everybody hooked up Matrix style. So they're going to have these hidden encampments. They're going to go out and try to stop this from happening, or maybe they just want to live off the land and they want nothing to do for this. Now, I think the building blocks are already in place. I don't think the tech is fully there yet. But people are willing to spend, $3,000 on the Apple glasses to use them for 5 days and realize it's sort of a novelty thing right now. But this is exactly where we're going. I think within my lifetime, I'm going to see it getting there. Now, I think within our children's lifetime, we will be there. And at some point, maybe everyone's forced into being into this. Think about how easy everyone would be to comply if not only do you have this scenario you've created, I tick Rockstar, but who controls that tech, right? Who controls what's manipulating your mind, and why would they not add other things to that? I would. Why would they not make you comply in other ways? Maybe you try it for a day or two and something gets sort of implanted into your psyche that tells you need to go back. You want to go back. And at first, I think tech like this will be great. You'll go into this world. It'll stop addiction. It'll stop people who are overeating, say they can't lose weight. In reality, they just can't put the food down. I think it has to start as a way that helps us. And then eventually, I think this is how it'll be a utopian world, just storage containers 40 high, everyone living in them, except for the outliers, I think it's coming. I think it's going to happen. And if I have a choice in the matter, I'm going to be one of them rogue villagers, and I'm going to be shooting them goggles off your face.
Not apologetic.
Nonsense.